Hello, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Waynesboro Area School District Board of Directors for June 28th, 2022. Please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Kuzer, we have everybody here tonight. So we'll move on for the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Dr. Klein, this is as stands, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, same with the minutes. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Questions about last meeting's minutes? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Dr. Klein.
All right, as the board, just as a follow-up, the board, if you remember, on June 1st, we had a threat to the school district. And we're working with our partnerships with, we've had really good partnerships with Waynesboro Police, Washington Township, and the state police, and they have done so much for us. And on that day, everybody worked together so quickly. They did within a short period of time. I thought it was less than a day. I think it was technically maybe a little over that, but the police were able to apprehend a suspect and were able to deal with that. I know there's still under investigation, but I've gone to the borough to thank them. I went to their last borough meeting in June to thank the borough and the borough police for their partnership and their diligence on that program, on what they did for us. So to keep everybody safe. Just as a reminder, we do have a safety and security committee in the district that meets on a regular basis. I think they used to meet primarily on chemicals and other kinds of things like that for safety. But over the last 5 years, they have been meeting on other things. The district does have safety plans in place. They're constantly reviewed. There are, as a district, we also do practices for different drills for safety, fire drills, and also other intruder drills. There are a number of different checks that go on. Even the county has been working to try to build a more cohesive county security and safety. We have meetings like that on an ongoing basis. Actually, there was one today, and one of our police officers was there. And on that subject, we, as you know, we're looking at hiring a second one. So we have our own police force, so we will have two. I joked with our current police officer and said, I guess the price of donuts went up. So, but anyhow, he just looked at me, but I'm sure he's heard that before. Anyhow, so there are a number of things going on that we are doing. And again, that committee has been in place. And with that, we get calls from the county if there's a door that's ajar in the school, we get a call. I'll get a call, Doctor. I think I had to make a call on Christmas Day to somebody or I believe it's Christmas Day to Randy about one. I know Dr. Cernaheim got a call last night that she was dealing with. So that's the kind of things that they're going on to keep us safe. But the county or the police or someone said, we noticed you have a door ajar. So they call us and they let us know right away. So, I just wanted to kind of let you know there are things going on. It's going to constantly go on. I'm not sure there may be things we should be doing that we're not, but we have a lot of people looking at what we do. So I would think more will come over time, Lisa. improve. And if other districts have great ideas, we're gonna steal them. That's why the county's trying to work together. So anyhow, I just want to give you that update. So I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. We have no public comment. Want to speak tonight, Ms. McGuire? Okay. Okay, moving on then to board reports. Anybody have anything to report? Anybody meet? Academic had, I think academic met since the last meeting. Talked a lot about the high school, talked about, block scheduling and some ideas for how that's going to work. That was the bulk of the discussion, but nobody else has met. Okay. All right. Moving on then to business items. First item is personnel, Dr. Sternheim.
Thank you, Mrs. Harold. I'd like to direct your attention to personnel items. Within the board docs, we have resignation of professional staff, resignation of support staff, resignation of extracurricular staff, appointments of support staff, appointments of ESY staff, appointments of summer school staff, and an additional appointment of a Act 91 classroom monitor. And as we continue, the personnel handout of a resignation of the support staff, and then we have the appointment of two professional staff members, Lauren McHenry for biology at Washes, and Mr. Zach Forney for ELA at WAN. Recommendation is to approve as listed.
Do we have a motion?
To approve. Second.
Questions for Dr. Sternheim? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. A Title III LIU Consortium, whoever that may be. Is that Dr. Sternheim? Okay.
I can take.
Oh, sure.
You have it.
I can.
Okay, Mr. Holtzman.
So thank you. So this is basically language instruction for English learners. That's part of this agreement. It's a requirement if we receive less than $10,000 as part of our distribution to actually use the IU for these services. Historically, that's what we've always done. And so this agreement basically continues that practice for the 22-23 school year.
Motion,
Move to approve.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank
you.
you. Title I, non-public LOA.
So go ahead.
Yeah, we could do it as well.
Okay.
So essentially, we're under Title I. We are also required to provide non-public student access to Title I. So the agreement is essentially to provide our non-public students estimated at 20 students through the LIU agreement, letter of agreement. So.
Motion,
Move
Move.
to approve.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Preventative maintenance, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is for our emergency generators in all of our buildings. It covers both the major and the minor. We did change companies about 2 years ago, I think, maybe 3 years ago. We continue to like this current company that we're using right now. The recommendation is also coming from our maintenance director, Mr. Adams. So we're requesting to continue that contract and agreement.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Parking lot improvements, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This one's been a long time in coming. This is for Fairview for some safety improvements there. Effectively, we went out to bid. This was something that went through the facilities committee for a while. It's been reviewed by the building administration. We've probably been talking about this for 2 years at least, I think, at this point. But I think we came down to a plan that will hopefully work better for traffic. And the whole idea is to basically make it easier for 2 sets of cars to come into that Fairview parking lot, make some radius turns within the parking lot. We can stage more vehicles in that lot at pickup time. So we don't think it's going to solve all the problems because we still have a tremendous number of parents that certainly come by and pick up their students or their children at Fairview. But this should help to stage more cars and keep us from kind of blocking that Fairview and Second Street area a little bit, or block it for a shorter period of time. So we did have a local contractor who did bid on the project here, which was very good of them as well.
Motion,
Second.
questions? We've gone over this for quite a while. I think everybody has a good handle on this. So, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, science room or family consumer science room proposal, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, this program here is basically because we have such a demand from our student body for additional courses in the family consumer science area. So I believe we're in the process, Dr. Sternenheid could confirm, of looking at a third FCS teacher, I believe, as we're heading in that path, in that direction. But we need a place for them to go ahead and instruct. The high school has figured out a way to make sure that any of their cooking programs would happen in the second semester. That would give us plenty of time to transition a room into more of a cooking facility. Most of the cost you see here, though, while there are costs associated with getting that room ready for that, a lot of those costs are items we're gonna have to put no matter where the room is. So we're gonna have to buy ovens and stoves. We would need those anywhere. We have to buy the small items, things of that nature, and even electrical upgrades to a certain point. We're gonna have to do that no matter where we put this room. They've identified a room down in the art area. They feel that has a good bit of space. It also has an additional side room, so that additional side room can actually be used for more storage as well. So we believe we would have time to work on this. The good news is this is not something we have to have ready for August. So we're anticipating we'd have to have it ready for January, second semester.
Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, and I think just to clarify, there are some cooking classes that will happen in the fall.
Yes,
But they can divvy them up so that the bulk, we can have two sets in the,
I'll defer to Dr.
in the
Sternenheid
spring.
on that one. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so as I referenced, Dr. McCallum, as well as the high school admin team, were creative in trying to make this work. So it would require the sharing of the kitchen facility for a period of time. We are in the process of recommending a candidate for board approval on July 12th. And she has indicated that in her prior district, she was used to sharing. So we're going to continue to work through that process.
but the goal would be second semester, correct?
Yes, that's.
To have that ready. Okay.
We would have that ready, which again, that, as you know, every time we've touched buildings and doing anything, it seems like between building codes and ADA, it just takes a lot longer than we've always anticipated. And the last 2 or 3 projects kind of taught that lesson a little bit, unfortunately. But again, one of our focuses will be on equipment that can be moved and rolled, so not built-in permanence for the most part, if we can help it. So I think that'll help out with the flexible use of space in those areas as well.
Any other questions from Mr. Holtzman?
Do we have a do not exceed now on this? Just know some prior projects. When,
Sure, I guess right now we have 41,000 probably. I mean, if you so wanted it, if the board so didn't want to make that as a maximum, we could certainly work within that parameters. And if we felt we had a concern, we would come back to the board.
I mean, if it costs more, I'm just not convinced that you can do it for that much amount of money. I'm not convinced that engineering specs are only gonna be $5,000. Could we make it that we're at least notified if it's gonna be more than that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If we could certainly use that as a upper limit. And as we work through each part of the process, we can come back and let you know how we're doing and what the progress is and see if we need to request essentially additional
Just
funding.
based on some other things that exceeded.
Yeah.
Recommended cost, I think it's a good idea for the board to do that. You know, if it does go for that.
Good points.
Other questions?
Actually,
Ms.
I,
Zimmerman?
I have a question. So, my understanding, Mr. Holtzman, is the fact that, no matter where we put this classroom, the cost is gonna be pretty much the same. Is
Yeah.
that what you said?
It is. And the reason is because we do have one FCS classroom that's set up right now for cooking. One of the other FCS classrooms that we used to have and use as a district for that purpose was really more of a sewing type environment. And what we did is we looked at it, for example, that room has 2 sinks and the one we're proposing to change has 2 sinks. And so a lot of the mechanics were the same in both rooms, but it really wouldn't be much different because we're going to try to set up 4 to 5 stations. Ideally 5 would be great, but we'll have to see what we can do from an ADA perspective.
Okay, and the next question is, so is this classroom gonna be in close proximity to the classroom that will be shared then during fall semester?
It is. It's just down the hall. It's probably, I would say 75 to 100 feet away.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's on the same.
So
floor.
it's the last
down the hall.
room on
Okay,
the left in
it's
the
in the
art
same hallway.
part.
It
Yeah.
is.
Okay,
When the art, it's in the art part. So down on the left.
Yep. And the other room that shares, of course, you come out of the art corridor, hang a left and then that other classroom is right there, so it's not very
I
far away at all.
I traveled for years and years and years, so no problem.
I think they were side by side. I mean, I don't know about the cooking. The one, other one set up more like sewing or
So
something.
we never
along
had
those
two, we
lines.
never had two. cookies.
We never had two full cooking classes.
Well,
Yeah, there's.
But
three
only
rooms,
one
but
was cooking. Right. Crafts. Child development, yeah.
that explains the layout. Yeah.
Great, you have that history.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Crosswalks, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Another project long in coming, but a really good partnership. As you might be aware, we've had a continual problem with pedestrian traffic in front of the middle school area. It's just a tough area. Because the traffic gets so backed up on Second Street, we have a lot of family members because of time who probably use that shopping center a good bit to drop off students and pick up students. And what happens is there's no crosswalk currently in that area, right across from between the shopping center and Wance across Second Street. So we've looked at this before. We've kind of went through a request process with the borough before, but recently Dr. Klein did send a formal letter of request to put a crosswalk in that area. The borough has agreed so long as the district will pay for that, because effectively we are the primary users of that space and that have the primary need in that area. Certainly this can be used by the community itself. But effectively what they would do is put a crosswalk in. It would have those lit signs where you hit the button and they flash to let people know that they're in the crosswalk from a safety perspective to be able to cross in that area. We think it would certainly improve the safety in that area. We've seen them through some other grants. The borough was able to put those in other sections of Second Street, and they were highly effective. In fact, even in a situation or two, we actually didn't even have to have a crossing guard there anymore because the lights were very effective doing that as well. So again, we really do appreciate the borough's support on this and the streets committee. We like the idea. They ended up giving us 3 different ideas here and the last minute on crosswalks. We kind of recommending the standard one, the one that's on your agenda right now versus the other options. But the other options were interesting as well.
Motion?
What are we?
It's just the one that's being recommended, correct, Mr. Holtzman?
Yes, ma'am. And that one's the 20,000.
So at this point, the motion, well, I mean, you can make whichever one you want, but
It's option one.
Yes, ma'am. It's actually the option one, and it's the only one I actually put on the agenda itself. The other ones just came in a little late to
Oh,
put on
gotcha.
the agenda.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
We do approve.
Second.
questions?
Will this be done before?
That is the goal, but I'm not going to hold the borough to that. I don't know how fast they can get equipment in and things of that nature.
Oh, I bet they.
How is this crosswalk gonna be? Which side of the drive coming out of the middle school is the crosswalk going to be?
On the left side,
On the
on the
left.
west side.
on the left, west.
But we have no sidewalks on that left side for the kids to walk. Is that true? I mean,
Sidewalk on
I pick
Yeah.
up my grandson
Yeah, that's
every
right.
day, and if you're
Yeah.
gonna have to stop for a whole bunch of kids to cross over the drive to get to the crosswalk, seems like you're defeating purpose a little bit, because you're supposed to only do a right turn, even though if there's no crossing guard, people don't do. I
Right.
do.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and in
Yeah.
this case, people could use the crosswalk, and again, you're only supposed to make a right-hand turn. It wouldn't impede the people making a right-hand
Right, it
turn.
wouldn't impede.
No.
Right, it would not.
Except that the kids are gonna come down the sidewalk and have to cross in front of all the cars to get to the crosswalk.
Right, and at times we do have that issue. We have students that we have to stop traffic sometimes there
Or
and
the
then
students,
sometimes in the
right.
other area. Right, but at least only during one of those paths, we have to stop the traffic. And then also what that does is allows people to make a left-hand turn out of the shopping center without
Right.
affecting that part of it. And you're right, it is a complicated, small area, with a lot of traffic and a lot of issues. Probably one of the reasons why this has taken so long to take a look at and come up with different ideas.
Can I ask why there was only an intermittent crossing guard this past school year?
It's probably because of staffing, unfortunately.
Traffic.
Yeah, that's been the largest challenge we've had. Among many other positions, it's certainly not a fun position there, dealing with a lot of the, folks who come through that area. Sometimes, people are not very satisfied, and it's certainly a challenge for that crossing guard.
But we're still going to have a crossing guard there, hopefully,
Try to.
Correct,
hopefully, okay,
right. Our
Works
goal would
much
be,
Better when there is one.
yeah,
but
yeah.
I have a question too. Now, I believe I'm not nixing this whole idea because I think we need a crosswalk. I think the problem, I don't think this is gonna solve the whole problem. And, you know, again, there is a sign there coming out of the middle school saying right turn only between certain hours, which again is great. The problem is the shopping center. And I had told Dr. Klein that, you know, I'd contact the company, which I have not yet done. However, you know, we can't put a sign here saying right turn only between these hours because that's going to cross the crosswalk. I mean, it's, anyway, that's going to be that's the problem. Not the traffic coming out of the middle school. The problem is the traffic coming out of the shopping center. So hopefully they stop for kids in the crosswalk and hopefully they decide maybe I shouldn't do this anymore because this is holding up, you know, everything. Because I just see traffic coming out of there being stopped, while kids go across. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to oppose this whole proposal. I'm just saying, I'm not positive this is the final answer. We should not have our parents coming out of that shopping center and turning right or left. Anyway, that's
Okay. Anyone else?
It's the new
Yeah, I-
accessible ramp. It's that. It's a ramp.
sure, that's a handicap accessible ramp that would connect the crosswalks across.
because it's not.
Okay.
So there isn't one there currently, so we'd have to put one in to make that accessible.
But I would like to say, this is the beginning. So, you know, I'm glad that the borough is working with us. This is a beginning to a big, big problem.
It
And
is.
we are very, very fortunate that a kid has not been hit there.
I agree. I think any way we can improve pedestrian safety in this area is going to help over the long haul, but it's certainly not the only item.
Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
you. All right, Fairview Media Center Furniture, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So this is an item using Title I funds. This is an item that has been requested from our folks who manage the Title I area. They believe that making some significant improvements to the media center to use it in a different manner would help facilitate educational purposes. It is an agreeable amount that you're allowed to use under Title I funding. In this case, it's a one-time event, so it wasn't able to cover salaries this year under that purpose. One of the items we struggled with a little bit, and if you'll notice in there that this is pending solicitor approval or additional bids, is that we were trying, because under uniform grant guidance, we're required to go out and get specific bids whenever we're using federal funds. And so one of the issues that we had was, if this is a consortium that meets uniform grant guidance, then we're okay. We can use that consortium to make the purchase and we meet the criteria. But we weren't able so far to get the information that we could use with our solicitor to verify that it would meet uniform grant guidance. So they're still providing more information. Our solicitor was still reviewing that information. And so what we're asking for is approval to go ahead and purchase at that limit. And two different paths we have. Path A is the solicitor says the purchase is okay. We're allowed to use that group to purchase this furniture. In that case, we would be all right to do that and meet that requirement. Path B is we're actually going out and trying to get other bids as well. Challenge becomes getting other furniture companies to bid against other furniture companies for the same furniture. So you're kind of asking, you know, the same Chevy dealerships to bid against the same car. It becomes a little bit more of a challenge because they all pretty much have very similar pricing. So, but we're going down both of those paths. One of those will work. We're just not sure exactly which path will work at this point, but we thought we would want to bring this to you because we're getting a little concerned with timing as we're moving into the summer and getting closer into the school year. And our apologies, we've been looking at this for quite a long time. It's just taken a long time to go through and look at this consortium. They've provided information in the past. We've reviewed it with the solicitor, didn't quite meet the criteria. We had to go back to them, request more information. So it's been a little bit of a lengthy process.
We have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second,
Questions or comments?
Just a clarification, Mr. Holtzman, these funds
Yes,
are
sir.
not coming out of our general fund budget. These are Title I funds that we are being granted.
That is correct. This will finish out the 21-22 school. year.
Anybody else?
They're specifically for fair.
Oh, yeah, I didn't specify that.
When
You're
we
right.
receive the funding, it's allocated based on the number of students reproduced. And so it is a Fairview being the largest elementary.
So you're wiping out all the furniture for this cost? I mean, it's all being replaced, is that correct?
Good.
$120,000? That,
So it's moving towards the creating a STEM type facility for our learners to be able to utilize. We were very fortunate to hire Mr. Keith McCrae, who has really not only just worked at Fairview, but has worked across the board to try to really enhance the STEM education within the elementary level. So this is a first step. I mean, Fairview is very fortunate that they have a higher percentage. Throughout the course of the school year, we entertained various options for spending the Title I money that was allocated. I mean, when we talk about like a certain percentage needs to be spent in certain areas, we also entertained the idea of an additional intervention specialist. We had advertised for that was not filled. We are at the point where we could just spend through this money. This is I think a good direction for the district to move in. I'm not sure if we can duplicate it in the other buildings, but I mean, ultimately, as we continue to look at grant options beyond title, this will be the prototype, and moving forward, hopefully we can duplicate in the other elementary.
I don't think I can agree. I mean, you have 16 bookcases. Why do we need 16 new bookcases? I mean, I see they're on wheels. To me, it's like we're wiping out everything, whereas something should be able to still be used. I mean, I haven't been there, so I don't know what this furniture looks like.
Probably
But
pretty
that's-
old. And it,
This is a lot of money.
So
It's gone. Yeah. Well, if you look at the libraries over the years, they have changed considerably.
Understand
And I
that.
know that we are very good at the school district with repurposing. So I know, for example, the middle school has asked for new furniture, so we may shop a little bit at Fairview and see if that will work out for us. I had suggested, since the middle school does not benefit from the Title I funding, they did submit a way back mini grant. That's how we were able to get some additional furniture at Wash's a number of years ago, so.
maybe it'll help Mr. Holtzman if we mention that this was presented to the facilities committee a couple of months ago. And I think the long-term goal for the library is to help transform it into a library as well as a STEM center. And so adding in bookcases on wheels will help with that, depending on what presentation or project or activities are going on, to help rearrange the library to fit the needs. And I think another part of the goal is also, it's not just Fairview that benefits, but all the elementary schools can now come to the STEM center, as well as I think the long-term goal is also to help it be a community event center as well. And so I think part of the new furniture that's being ordered here is to help enable that long-term goal. So I think that's part of correct me if I'm wrong, so that's part of
No, you're
the
correct.
hope is that this buy will help launch this to be a multi-purpose center as well as being the library as well.
I'll second what you said. I was at that meeting and they did a very good presentation of how they're going to use this, how much more valuable it's going to be to the school. than they can afford.
They'll still have library classes today, sure. So that's, I mean,
realistically, I hear what you're saying, that the library's used 5 days a week all day long by parents. So it's not really. About
Well, I imagine that, I mean, depending on how they like to share the space and divide the space up, I mean, there may be opportunities during the course of the school day, but I think initially it's going to be driven Fairview home base. It's a pretty large space.
Did they show you a drawing of the
Yeah.
facilities committee?
Yes.
It would help,
We
I
did,
think it
we
would help if there was like, I don't, I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not
right. We
for
probably
any of
should have
it. I think
included
it's
the
hard to
pictures.
Visualize what it's gonna look like without a drawing.
We have one we can put in the folder, quick, but I don't know how fast that would. Sure. Sure, we can do that and show you the layout.
Anything else from anyone? Okay, if not, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Ms. Sullivan, would you weigh in on this? Are you a yay?
Yeah.
Okay, so that'd be 8-1.
Thank you.
Okay, on to requisitions. Yeah, so that's you, Mr. Holtzman?
Yes, ma'am. It's that time of year. These are the initial 22-23 purchase orders. A lot of these are based on the building budgets, which we do send out to everyone ahead of time, and we've reviewed that as part of the budgeting process. That covers everything from curriculum to nurses, technology area, of course, each building as well. So we're basically asking for your approval of these initial purchase orders. As a district, we've always done this. We've always provided those purchase orders ahead of time. Give you a chance to take a look at them. I know there's a lot, and I apologize, but there's a good bit there. But this allows that process to get started here July 1st to issue POs and get equipment. Probably in the old days, one of the issues is that school used to not start until after Labor Day in many cases. As school has started earlier and earlier, it becomes more of a challenge to get everything in the door timely enough. And we have a lot of teachers that in early August, we start seeing them in our buildings on a regular basis. So it becomes a challenge to get it all.
Okay. Motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Questions for Mr. Holtzman? Okay, not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, and now for the regular business items, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So we have, again, normal bills payable for the cafeteria and the general fund, as well as some final cleanup of POs and requisitions here, finishing up the 21-22 school year. We have the treasurer's report there for you, which is just a review of our cash positions in each account. And then we also have a income statement. We continually update that this time of year, and I have some notes in there this time for you just to show you where we're at with that. The biggest thing that always surprises, and I always continue to forget about it as well, but if you look at local revenue, you often see that it really looks pretty light at this time of year. But the biggest reason is because of Abraxas. Abraxas is in there as a revenue and as an expense, and we don't book that until it's all finished, which is usually probably September of every year. So that one's always going to look a little light this time of year. The other lines were all fine, but that one always looks. And again, we always get a little worried too as we're getting to the end of the year. We're saying, where's the $3 million of revenue? Well, they haven't received it yet. So
Okay, motion?
Move to approve.
Second,
Questions for Mr. Holtzman? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
thank you.
You do? And on to informational items. Clayton Cabinet comments. Well, thank you. Okay,
We're wrapping up with the summer literacy and math camp at the elementary level. So we were delighted that we were able to offer that to our learners. A big thank you to the admin and the teachers and the paraeducators who've worked through it. We have middle school and high school summer school up and running. We did host band camp. It was 2 weeks ago. I forgot to mention it at the last meeting. So even though it's summer, there's a lot of amazing activities for our learners, and
okay.
shout out.
was that in place of the traditional first week in August, or was that in addition?
This would be elementary.
Oh, this
or
is
middle school.
elementary.
Yeah, so, I was looking for, Dr. McCallum had reminded me at the last board meeting, I believe Mr. Ritter, Alicia, Mrs. Shemin and Mrs. Slick had run the band camp the week prior to our meeting, so. Normally my admin tried to help me out with announcements and I got it a little too late at the last board meeting, so.
Actually, I do have a question about that. So I'm looking back years and years ago when we had summer band for elementary school. So this was 1 week. Can you just clarify?
So I would need to get a more clarification unless my admin team could help me here, because I was not made aware of it until the meeting that, and Dr. McCallum had said, hey, by the way, because I'd mentioned, the summer camp, literacy camp. So I'll have to get more details and I can provide that in the Friday forward.
Okay.
So there were periods of time that we did not offer summer camp, band camp
Band
for the
camp, yeah.
elementary students. And I know that, there were some concerns about oftentimes the learners would pick their instruments in the spring, but then if they didn't have anything over the summer, they would lose interest. So, we had looked at reintroducing that. In light of COVID, there were some limitations as well.
Right.
So it might have just been a mini camp. I can get more details. Again, very pleased that we at least offered it. If it was only for a couple days, it's still something that's hopefully generating that interest.
Anything helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason I ask is someone did just ask me recently about that. And I know our band numbers at the high school level are down from what they used to be years ago. And this person thought perhaps it's because we're not offering this summer band anymore for elementary school students. So actually, this sounds like a good beginning. So
Sure,
thank you.
and I mean, we've been following those numbers for a number of years. I feel that in some cases our learners are overscheduled. They want to be able to take AP courses, they want to be be able to do other electives and then fitting that in banding course.
Yeah.
I can definitely, be an additional challenge as well, so.
It
but-
can be, but yeah, let's get these kids,
Yeah, they
the
become
the
very
younger kids
interested
interested.
in
Yeah.
the elementary, and then they continue in middle school,
Yeah.
and then oftentimes they drop off at the senior high school. So
That
just
will,
like, we've worked very hard to get our career tech numbers up, and they're up now, so we'll continue
Yeah.
to work in the right direction.
because if we don't start them to be enthusiastic at the elementary level, we're not gonna have,
Well,
we're gonna lose a whole lot of kids, a lot more kids when they get to the high school.
and
So,
I think we're at an advantage now because Mr. Ritter is the band,
Mhm.
assisting at Fairview, because he had some room in his schedule. So interestingly enough, you get connected with Mr. Ritter as an elementary student, and that is your band director at the senior high.
Yeah,
So it's
I think
making those
that's excellent.
connections.
This was a good use and a good example of the ESSER funds. This kind of, I think, formalized somewhat of an informal program possibly before. And we've been able to do that. We'll be able to do that for the next 2 years with ESSER funds, and then obviously we can transition after that to the school district itself, so.
Those third and fourth grade classrooms also, music classes are also important to the promotion of the band. The band and chorus, because that's where you introduce the families of the instruments and the kids learn about them and you try to get them psyched up about it now.
Yeah. I know. I mean, all 5 of my kids, played instruments, and some did not continue to play throughout high school, except even what they gained from that experience was very, very beneficial. So I like to see, I'm glad that we're maybe reviving that. Excellent.
Thank you. Yes. Mr.
Just briefly, just want to just say thanks again to our bus contractors. Normally they get the summer off. This year they do not get the summer off. Not all of them have to work, but we do appreciate their time and support. Anytime they have buses on the road, I know the owners typically are very available. And so that is a little bit more demanding of them throughout the summer as well. This is usually their downtime and their time for maintenance. So we appreciate their help. As well as, of course, everybody in food service and our cleaning staff who are taking care of the buildings as usual this year. And then everyone is getting ready for the changeover of the fiscal year audits and things of that. So again, thanks to everyone doing it.
Thank you. How about anybody from the board? Yes.
Mr. Hudson, where are we with the crosswalk? Across the
Oh. I think we're in the process of getting the bid specs together is where we're at with that. Yes, ma'am. Yep, I think that was just approved maybe about 2 meetings ago or so, I think, if I remember correctly. I think we're waiting for the engineer to put the bid specs together, then that we can bring that back and get some bids, obviously.
We talking about the bridge?
it's not a bridge.
That's Holland, going back from the Holland Green Estate.
oh,
behind the high
okay.
school, I believe that's.
The
what you're
path,
talking
yeah,
about,
yeah,
Dr. Roy.
okay, sorry. Understood, okay.
Is there any way, like, at some point, I guess I could ask the facility, but had a couple residents ask me.
This one got kicked back. I mean, we kept going back a lot. I think what delayed it was we kept looking for grant money and we're still looking, by the way. I think that's something, I think Ms. Straight had brought something up too about the opportunity to look for grant money for this project. We've looked at the local, the state and the federal level, and we're not able to find anything. However, we did go back and talk to the borough and ask them again to go back out and look as a borough. Sometimes the funding models are allowing a borough or municipality to do this versus us. So I know that I talked to Mr. Staines. I believe they are looking at some options. In fact, we even sent them, I think we found a grant or two that applied to municipalities. I think they were taking a look at that as well, but we're still going to go through the process of getting the bid specs and getting ready because, again, we have been looking at this project for many years and we keep getting closer, but we just haven't quite.
Well, and I do believe, I mean, I understand it would stand for itself for a long time, but I just been eliminating buses.
Correct. There's a transportation savings certainly, and there's a community walking benefit to that trail as well, connecting the high school and well, 3 of our schools right here on the main campus with that development. So, yeah, which is good. I mean, even the the borough manager thinks it's a great idea to connect that along with the walking trail that's behind the school. So it really would be a benefit to the community at the end of the day.
Anything else from anyone?
I saw today on Facebook that the school district put out a blast about free lunches being over. And I just, the last 2 years we've had that, correct? So I think we really need to publicize that parents have to apply again. They may have gotten out of the habit. Some of them may think their income isn't low enough and, you know, those income levels do change and, you know, there may be more people eligible for that free lunch, free or reduced price. And I think we need to make sure that we're making people aware that they do need to apply this year and, you know, maybe what the levels are and you know, get them the help that they need.
There's more coming to that.
Is there?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, so a
Correct.
couple things. So again, our food service department does proactively go out and encourage them everyone to fill out the forms, whether they qualify or not, because sometimes you do qualify, even though you don't
Right.
think so. They do work really hard at that. And they have the same concerns you have as well as, you know, trying to remind people to get back into this habit again.
Right.
But they've been successful and continue to go out and push for those applications, even though it's been free. Another piece to that is we just heard through the School Nutrition Association that they're probably going to increase the reimbursement. The federal government's going to increase the reimbursement. I think it's 40 cents for lunch and call it 12 cents or 15 cents or something like that, a smaller amount for breakfast. So that will help us out a little bit. One of the nuances in it, I did put something in the Friday folder actually for this coming week is kind of a reminder is that, you know, we used to have I guess a practice or a procedure in the district among many other districts where if, you know, you couldn't afford the meal and you didn't qualify for a free meal, that we gave you an alternative meal. But years ago, we stopped doing that. And part of that is because there's a federal requirement that every student gets the same meal. So even if they can't pay, we can accrue a charge on their account, but we have to continue to give the meal. There can be no other ramifications whatsoever. And so I'm putting that information back out. We're working through our process and procedure again for that because we still notify people. We still try to encourage. We've had donations to help cover those items as well. But that's the requirement of using federal funds for your meal service. And then what ultimately happens, believe it or not, is every year is that if there's any unpaid debt in the food service area, that debt has to be transferred over to your general fund every year. So there is a bit of a concern out there among all school districts that if they have a large amount of debt because people are not used to this again, that's going to get transferred against their general funds a year from now. But there is a concern out there for many schools.
We've had fundraisers at our church at the end of the school year already to send money, to collect money and send in for that fund, I guess that's what you're talking about, the unpaid deals that have built up. And that is a mission.
Yeah, we've had some very generous people in the community. Our debt's actually been very good when I compared to a lot of districts. Where you talk to them that, $60,000-$70,000 or more. We've had very small numbers compared to that, typically below 5 digits. In terms of total amounts. And again, very generous individuals in the community and organizations that have helped offset that. We've even had people in the, as seniors who are leaving, they contact them and say, what do you want to do with your balance? And
Oh,
they'll give it to siblings or they'll give it to somebody else to
Right.
cover that. So.
Anything else? All right, we have no executive session afterwards, so our adjournment is for everybody. Most, and so we have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Make sure that you want to run the personnel committee.
Yeah, I already,
Okay, you
polled
talked
them.
to,
I polled
okay.
them, yeah.
very good. So Personnel Committee, yeah,
Okay,
is meeting afterwards, I believe,
okay,
or at
5
least
minutes.
discussing,
Yeah, I hope.
discussing when we can meet.
Yeah. You can come to the meeting. Okay, do we have a motion? I'm sorry. Do we
Move
have-
to adjourn.
Okay. Do we have a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, thank you very much.
45 minutes.